Well, it's back to school season, but this year many will not be in the classroom, instead learning online.
So joining us to offer some ways to help your children cope with the stress, better adapt to the change in health, we have human behavior and national stress reduction expert, Dr. Alok Trivedi. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, Doctor, let's first talk about this. I have a couple of high schoolers, and the one thing that we've been talking about at the house is how important is social interaction for these kids, especially when all of a sudden they've gone from being around their friends, being at school, to having to possibly stay home, depending on what your school does.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's essential, right? I think it's important that, through this crazy epidemic time, we've got to look at it and make sure that these kids are able to at least have social interactions, to vent, to laugh, just like a guy needs guys' night and a woman needs, girl time, whatever it is. That these kids also need to create opportunities in the evenings with their friends to sit and talk about kind of what's going on with their life, to socialize, to vent. It's super important for them.
Yeah, of course. And, social media making it so easy, FaceTimes, things like that. So what are some things that, parents can really tell their kids to help them ease their worries as they start this new virtual school year?
I think it's important to keep things in perspective, right? We've gone through crazy times before. We'll go through crazy times again, and we'll always rise above it. And I think it's important to tell the kids and show them in the history times of how things were crazy before. This is not the first pandemic the world has ever faced, and people have come through it, and the world has evolved and grown because of it. I think it's important to share that with them and say, look, we'll all come through this on the other side, and it's just going to be something different that we get to learn and grow from.
Yeah.
Especially for those who may be doing at-home learning, maybe some tips or some things that they can do to kind of lighten up the day, give them some fun, if you will.
And there's no question that, what kids can do on the playground with other kids, play tag, throw the baseball around, they're not going to be able to do. I think it's a great time for parents and family members to create playtime in between it, right? Instead of lunchtime, if you can and you work from home and you can create lunchtime around that, go outside, throw the ball around for 10 minutes. Go kick the ball around for 10, 15 minutes. Or just horse around with them a little bit like you would as if you were a kid. It's probably healthy for you to go back and get the stress release from it yourself so you can be like a child as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, so talking about the future, kind of, looking ahead, even though it still seems a little bit uncertain, how do you want to address that with kids?
I think it's super important to let them know that the future is going to go back to some sense of normalcy, and have them plan out a trip, something that they want to do. Have them look into the future with great optimism so that they have an opportunity to think, you know what, we're going to come through this. And it gets to get them to think what they can do after all this is done. All
right, so I feel pretty good. We're actually having some of those conversations, so we're somewhat on the right path here.
Well, good. Yeah, it's helpful.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's important.
So, Doctor, where can we find more information if folks want it from you?
Yeah, thanks. You can just go to dralok, ALOK.net. That's the easiest one they can go to, dralok.net.
Very good. Perfect. Appreciate you spending some time with us this morning.
Thanks for having me.